Welcome to I Do What I Do, where we explore how and why folks do what they do to forge their path and create fulfilling, squiggly careers. I'm Zara Bartels, once a dancer, now a creative operator. And in this fifth season, we're in London, once my home for many years. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a creative soul, or just curious about what makes people tick, have a listen. You'll be inspired to do what you do better. Let's go.
Oh God.
That's not how we're supposed to start.
I don't know. Let me not laugh too hard.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Nicholai La Barrie.
Thank you.
Welcome to I Do What I Do. Stop laughing!
I don't know why I'm laughing. All right. I think this is cool. This is why I'm laughing.
It
This
better
is cool.
be.
Sorry. Go on. Sorry. Do your
Shut
intro.
man. Anyway, welcome, Nicholai.
Thank you very much.
Director, musician, storyteller. Welcome to I Do What I Do.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk about what you do, a little
Yeah.
bit about life. I would like you to introduce yourself. While you do that, would you like some 1919 or some Appleton 12 year?
Oh gosh, Appleton, because I never had it before, so I wanted to see what it
Okay,
tastes
you
like.
never had Appleton 12
No.
year? All right, and you say you want it just on the rocks?
Yeah, on the rocks.
So tell us about yourself, Nico.
Where to start? I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm a creative, an artist. I am a theatre director, a filmmaker, a musician, and a storyteller. And I guess I've been living in the UK for 24 years now.
24 already?
Yeah. Since 2000, 24 years.
Oh, sure.
And it still doesn't quite feel like home, which is interesting. And
Why do you think it doesn't feel like home?
cheers. This is cool.
Thanks.
This is cool.
Why do you think it is? Why do you think it doesn't feel like home?
Because there is still a feeling of being othered here for me. And I genuinely don't know if it's true or not, but it feels like anything that I do, that there is a knowledge that's behind somebody's door, and that there are groups of people who know something, or even if they don't, they act like they know something that I'm excluded from. And I don't know that they're doing it purposefully, but I think it's because of their growing up and their friendship groups and the kind of learning that they had and how they understand theatre to be. Or it could just be all the bullshit of theatre too, which is a whole other thing, which is like, there is some set of information that I have that you don't have, that I can keep you out of.
Do you feel that's only about theatre, though, or do you feel othered in the general social landscape of this country?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's that only very recently, and I would say since COVID, I would say since, God bless him, George Floyd died, that it feels like there's far more people of color on TV. There's far more people of color in positions of power. Listen to
But they're about to rescind that shit.
Well, listen to Hamza Youssef resign today.
Yes, mad, right?
And realizing that
Ooh.
the Welsh First Minister is a black man.
Yeah.
The Scottish First Minister is a black man.
And then we
Rishi
have this
Sunak is, as whatever he is the prime
Sorry.
is the prime minister. And the London mayor is a Muslim man. So there is an opening up, and there is an understanding of what that power base is and how it shifts. But still, it feels like I am outside of something. And I don't know what the something is. And that's the thing. I don't even know if I want to be in the fucking club
I was
either.
now going to ask
Which is the other
if
thing.
that even matters, because the other thing is, you are probably outside because you come from the outside. You're not born here. You're not raised here either.
Yeah.
You came here when you were
20,
right?
Yeah.
So your formative years were done at home in Trinidad. And because we went straight ahead and like fully deep, which I'm not surprised, because we know each other way too long. And I guess we should cover that too, like how we know each other.
Yeah.
I know what I always say that I think embarrasses you a little bit. So I may still say, because it's my podcast, But it is though.
It's my podcast.
I
can say what I want. No, you ain't lie at all.
But
and it doesn't embarrass me.
Okay, cool.
It doesn't.
Good to know. But how do we know each other, Nico?
We've known each other for, we're getting old. 30-something years?
Probably.
35 years, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
35 years. And we met in Lilliput Theatre in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And I want you to say the thing. I'm not going to say it. And
he's one of my sister's closest friends, if not best friend for
a very long time.
And he was my first boyfriend ever. We only have a kiss and hold hands, really.
Which I'm still very pleased about.
So am I. I think it was a good entry into relationship life.
Oh, that's very sweet of you to say.
I never thought about that before, but I think it was.
I feel like that too.
Yeah.
You were the first human being outside of my family. I think I said this before. First human being outside of my family that I truly had love for. I didn't understand what that was. And you could love somebody who didn't grow up with you in your family like that and feel that kind of affection to and want like good things for them and want to be part of their life and all that. And so it unlocked a waterfall for me that I feel a lot of the time that I am like a raw nerve, like this open feeling thing happening all the time. And it was our relationship that unlocked that for me.
How does one respond to that? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad, oh my gosh, I'm glad I'm wearing my high neck mailing. Oh, so I'm also wearing mailing today. You know, one of your first jobs.
It's
a model for mailing.
It's a beautiful top. Yeah.
I know, Mommy bought it for me for my birthday.
Oh, wow.
I love it. But let's... Oh, you threw him off there.
Sorry.
Thanks. I love you too.
I love you.
So let's talk about Lilliput, because now we've mentioned it.
Yeah.
So Lilliput is where you started.
Yeah.
And how did you actually end up at Lilliput? Oh, we should probably say what Lilliput is.
Lilliput Theatre is a young people's theatre in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's based in Port of Spain. And it was started by Noble Douglas and... Oh my God. And
I didn't know someone else started it, so there we go.
Yeah, Noble and I cannot remember his name. But what it was from very early on, and I realized this after, was this place for all of the very top and most exciting creative people in Trinidad to give back to young people. So Tony Hall was there, John Isaacs, obviously, Wendelman Warren. What's her name? Who's the designer?
Meryl
Mahabir.
Yeah.
And all of these really, from my perspective, people I'd looked up to in the arts and people who were doing really exciting work in tent theatre and making work really solidifying what that generation was to the arts in Trinidad. And their generation allowed us to be artists because they were the first set of people who was like, I don't have to work in a bank or I don't have to do a job to work in the arts. And so doing these classes for young people was where they were making a little bit of money. So Noble was paying them and getting these people in. So it was like a company, a dance company, and it had a little drama company attached to it that would be the storytellers of a show that linked all the dances together. It was a dance school. And that was the format. And it was, over many years, Noble, John, Wendell developed that into a style. And it's a complete style of theatre that
Every year
they
still
make
doing
now.
the annual show with dancers. And Alicia, my sister, is she like their lead teacher? So it's been a part of our lives for a very long time.
Very
but
long
how
time.
did you actually get to Lily?
So mommy used to, my parents were like creative adjacent. So like...
But your mommy grew up in a singing family.
Yeah. Say like the Flores de San Jose and San Jose. She grew up around artists. My uncle Patrick was an opera singer. Patrick Flores was a premier opera singer in Trinidad and went to New York and sang opera and all kind of thing.
Okay. Did not know
and
that.
My dad was in the Light Operatic Society, so he was a singer too, which
Uncle Gorda?
Yeah,
lie.
I'm telling you, he never talked about it. And his Uncle Dave, my Uncle Dave told me that maybe about 10 years ago.
That's wild.
I am telling you, me and Uncle Dave was having dinner and he was like, yeah, you know your father used to sing? And I was like, he used to sing? Yeah, Light Up Rising Society. And then when I asked him, he was like, yeah, I forget I used to do that, yes.
As he would do.
I forget that, yes.
Oh my God, that's wild.
So my dad used to hang around Minshall Mass Camp and was used to work in the band, and we used to go to the Mass Camp pub and hang out with all of those guys that used to bring
These
the
are
band
all
from Minshall.
institutions in Trinidad for all of
Yeah.
our global listeners, because it's a global ass podcast, dude.
Yeah.
These are all institutions in Trinidad. Mass Camp Pub is just a pub, but that's where musicians used to play all the time, and it was just a very good lineman spot. Minshall,
It actually started off as
the
it
Mass
was
Camp,
the Mass
that is
Camp for
true. It
Minshall-
was
Minshall
Minshall's Mass Camp. Minshall is a mass maker.
Peter Minshall,
Yeah, I should say Peter Minshall.
Yeah.
Born in Guyana, but he is very Trinidadian. He is ours.
Yeah.
And he created some of the most amazing carnival bands Trinidad has ever seen. So these are, you grew up around savants of all sorts.
Yeah. When I look back at just the sheer amount of people, I'll tell you a story about Derek Walcott in a second, which I think is hilarious.
Just dropping random Nobel laureates, Derek Walcott.
I think back on being around them at that point in time, and all of the little steps that led me to here. I am very blessed. I've never had a job that wasn't in the arts. I never had to go and work in a restaurant. I never had to wait tables. I never had to do any of those things. I feel very blessed to have been able to be in my mid-40s, and everything that I've acquired in my life has been through either being a director, a performer, an artist, or a creative. And that feels...
That's no small feat. Congratulations,
I feel really
dude.
blessed by that. But it comes from a work ethic, an understanding of what the mechanism of art is to our society and to our culture, and then using as a platform to give back and to tell stories and to include people and to say yes more than I say no. Anyway, Daddy and Mommy used to... I'll get back.
Yes.
Let me finish the point. Daddy and Mommy used to hang around Minshall Mass Camp and used to make mass with them and all of that stuff. And then my mom was a caterer, and she used to make cakes and cater all of Noble's shows. Oh. So all of the puffs and all them things used to have backstage, Mommy used to make. But the intro to that was that Noble said, you have kids, just send them to the thing. And Mommy said, I don't have money to send them, straight of us, and I don't have money to send them to no dance class, and I don't have money to send them to no drama class. And Noble said, send them for free. I'm going to get Terry. I'm not. She said, send them for free. And so the 10 years that I was in that drama class, I did not pay a cent.
And that's what started your career and fulfills your life. So thanks, Noble.
I'm forever indebted to Noble Douglas. If she called tomorrow and say, come and do something, I will be there doing it. Everything that I understand about making theatre, everything that I understand about telling stories, everything that I understand about how art impacts our life came from those drama classes, came from that foundation, came from understanding really simple things like you got to be on time, and you got to speak clearly, and you got to speak up for yourself, and you have to understand what the mechanics of how a peril works or how a midnight robber works and all of those things. And it doesn't leave. I'm making a show right now, and we was talking about Midnight Robber today.
So Midnight Robber is our Trinidad. But actually, tell me how the Midnight Robber is informing what you're working on now and what you're working on now. You don't tell me nothing anymore.
I'm directing the panto at the Lyric. I'm directing Aladdin.
Side note, Nicholai is the artistic director.
The associate
artistic director
at the Lyric in Hammersmith.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm directing the pantomime at the Lyric in Hammersmith this year. And it's Aladdin. So we're talking about the genie and what the genie means to Aladdin and what the genie looks like and how our genie is going to be different. And our genie is going to be very different. It's going to be like, have you seen Moulin Rouge?
Yeah.
So like the ring...
Dude, I'm an ex-dancer.
Sorry. The ring, you know the ringmaster in Moulin Rouge? So the genie is going to be like the ringmaster in Moulin Rouge. But I was saying that we have to ascribe something slightly different to her. It's going to be played by a woman, so we have to ascribe something different to her in it. And does she speak in rhyme? And how does she speak in rhyme? And how does that work? And they were like, what do you mean? And I said...
So you just introduce all these people to
Midnight Robber. Yeah, I was talking to the writer and I was
saying,
this is how this Midnight Robber speaks and the cadence of it and how it works and what it was supposed to do. And I was talking about how the genie should be able to scare us a little bit because they're all powerful, but also charm us. And the ability to flip in a line from being able to do both of those things equally and really skillfully be able to do both of those things.
I might actually go and see a panel. We will see. So, okay, so you did Lilliput. How does Nicholai get from Trinidad to here and being here for 24 years later?
So I got cast in a show called Clearwater, which was directed by
Beautiful piece.
Helma Hilwig and Wendelman Warren and written by Christopher Rodriguez. And it is a beautiful piece of theatre. And I got cast in it. And I went for the role of the lead in it. I went and auditioned for it. And it was like one of my first auditions, like outside of Lilliput and blah, blah, blah. And they didn't give me the part. And I was so gutted. And when I was leaving, when they was like, no, we don't leave because you didn't give you that part, but we want you to play something else.
Yeah.
And then I played the brother, the lead's brother, which was a much better part.
Who was the lead in Clearwater again?
Is a character called Garth, and he was played by, I can't remember his name, but the guy who played it over here is Nicholas Pinnock.
That's how you met Nicholas Pinnock?
That's how I met Nicholas Pinnock, because he was in Clearwater. He played the lead.
Oh my God, that's years ago.
Yeah, it was 20 years ago, because that's when we came over to it. It was in 2000.
Oh, wow.
And they do the show in Trinidad, and Christopher is, at the time, writer in residence at a place called the Oval House Theatre, which doesn't exist in London anymore. Part of the deal of making the show was Oval House put some money into it. Some people in Trinidad put some money into it, but it was part of something called BITE, the British International Theatre event. And it was at the Barbican. And so the deal was always that they would do it in Trinidad and then they would do a production here.
Oh.
And they didn't know if they would have money or the resources to be able to take some of the cast from Trinidad to here. And Chris was really adamant that because it's a Trinidadian production, so they really recast about 4 people here and they brought 5 of us from Trinidad. And we were the bulk of the cast here. So I come here in 2000 to do that show. And while I'm doing that show, the guys at Oval House realized that I was doing some teaching at Lilliput and I was teaching at Holy Name Prep, which was
a primary school in Trinidad.
Wild.
I did not even know you taught at Holy Name Prep.
Yeah, it was crazy. I used to walk into the school
all
and
the
they
girls
would
like, yeah.
scream. I don't know, like it was it was just a boy being in the school. That was the only thing that was happening. It was just
therefore all the girls like,
it
yeah.
could have been any boy. It could have been the ugliest boy in the whole world and they would have been screaming.
Don't try to act like the woman and them do like you.
I don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
handsome
Anyway,
man.
I was teaching at Holy Name Prep and the guys at Oval House realized that I was doing that and they said, do you want to come and be our artist in residence for 6 months? And I said no.
Why?
Because I wanted to go home. It was cold. Even in the summer, it was cold. And I was like, no, I've just come here to do this play. I am going home after we finish the play. So I was married at the time. I went home and I told my wife they want me to be artist in residence. And I said, no, we're going back home. And she was like, what? Are you mad? Go back and tell them. Go back and tell them you want the work. And I went back and told them the next day, look, we want to stay because she wanted to be in the West End. She always had dreams of being in the West End. And she is now. Her name is Nicholai La Barrie and she's
brilliant, stunning, amazing voice.
Amazing voice and amazing performer too. And so I went back the next day and I said, look, I want to stay. I'm doing the thing for 6 months. And 24 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No longer married.
No longer married, yeah.
But still here and with a whole new family who I love dearly and an amazing son who's one of my favorite humans on the earth. So this is kind of weird because I know you so well. But, still did send you the pre-interview and you mentioned something about you didn't have the answer to something and that annoyed you.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember the question now. But that was one of your responses, right? You didn't have the answer to something that annoyed you, so you made a point of going back to answer it again. It was one of those impactful things on your life.
Right. Yeah. So what that was, the very, very first day I went to Lilliput Theatre.
Yes, it was Lilliput.
I walked in and there was all of these girls there. It was a bunch of girls. Some people who I can't even remember. It was like 9 girls and they asked me all of these questions and I had no answers for the questions. And I felt so annoyed that they were asking me all these questions and really pertinent things like what kind of music I like or something like just like kid stuff. And I didn't have any answers. And I was like, all I wanted to do was go back the next week and answer them. That was my one goal. To just go back and have all these answers. And then I went back and they had a different set of questions that I still
Are you surprised?
that's for. And yeah, and the not knowing thing annoyed me, and it's still not knowing something really still annoys me now. Like I don't mind, like if I don't know something, if I don't try and go and find it out, that's the bit that I'm always going, you should have made the effort to go and find that out.
Right.
I don't ever want to be in a room. If I don't know something and I'm learning something, that's absolutely fine. I don't ever want to be in a room where I'm willfully ignorant.
How does that inform your work? Or does it inform your work?
Of course it does.
Like
Yeah,
in
definitely.
what ways?
So I feel like I'm always searching for something. And it means that I'm doing way more research on something than is necessary. If I'm researching a project, the amount of stuff I acquire to do the project or to put in my brain to make the show or to make a film or to write or whatever it is, or to write a song even, is way more than I will ever use in that thing. But then it means that I feel like I have my hands on the rein of the thing.
Right.
And I can pull from loads and loads of
So
different
it's that kind
ideas.
of to be over-prepared kind of vibes.
Yeah.
How do you over-prepare? What are your tools? What are your techniques when you're preparing for, let's say, this panto?
One is to understand the style and the form. So this one is slightly easier because I know what the form is because I've done it before.
The form of the work, right? So in this form, it's a panto.
And so the last time I was making a panto, which was 2 years ago, which was the first one I ever directed, I saw 9.
You went and watched 9 pantos?
Yeah. I took a bus out to Unawupup somewhere. Some far,
Did you just
far
make up
place.
that word?
It's Australian. They say once, you know how we say kwaito, they say Unawupup.
So why didn't you just say quite?
Because I didn't remember it any time. Anyway, so it was some far, far place. I went to see a very bad panto. The funniest thing is they were all Jack and the Beanstalk because I was making Jack and the Beanstalk, right? Not only that, 3 of them had the same puppet for the giant.
Oh, no.
Which was like they just all rented the same puppet.
No.
And I was like, that's the same one from the last one I saw yesterday. So I was studying it. I studied it. And then after that, I said we wanted it to feel like Glastonbury for kids. So I studied loads and loads of Glastonbury performances. Like what works and what doesn't work. What gets a crowd moving, what gets them up on their feet. How does that work? What kind of lighting is necessary? How the songs work? What the arc of people's sets are. So I watched 5 Beyonce sets. I watched Jay-Z sets at Glastonbury. I watched Kanye West sets at Glastonbury. I watched
Stormzy?
Sing it?
Stormzy.
I watched Stormzy. I watched Coldplay. I watched Scissor Sisters. So I watched all of those things. Then I started watching, what's his name? Charlie Chaplin. And I started watching Buster
Why
Keaton
Charlie?
because it's physical humor, right?
Okay.
And my question was, how do you do large-scale physical humor on stage that's really obvious, really clear, and make everybody laugh at once at the same thing that isn't an intellectual joke?
Okay.
So how am I getting the 5-year-olds and the 65-year-olds to laugh at the same thing?
Wow.
And in all Disney films, that's what they were studying. They were studying Buster Keaton, like Aladdin, and like that form of how you set up a thing and then you release it, and how you set up the audience and you release them. And does he fall now? Does he fall after? How does the police chase him up the stairs? Where does he wait for them? All of that stuff is Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, all of that stuff. And then I started doing, and this is before the script even.
You just setting up what you like.
Yeah,
how
me and
you
the
want to.
writers talked about what it should feel like before I see anything. And then I started looking at emotional jokes, like how a joke works emotionally and what the mechanics of a joke are. What the prestige, not the prestige, that's the magic.
How do you find out what the mechanics of a joke are? What do you, like, you just go on Google?
Yeah. And you go down some pretty
Well,
deep
you're very
rabbit
good at
holes.
Google rabbit holes.
Yeah.
That is, I swear, your forte. Like,
Probably.
that's the thing that you do.
Yeah. So then you start just one thing leads to the next thing, and then I ended up reading somebody's dissertation on the 5 parts to a joke or the 3 parts to a joke, and then started listening to Dave Chappelle talk about jokes and Robin Williams talk about jokes and Trevor Noah and all of these people talk about how they write their jokes. And so by the time the script arrives, I have all of this information in my head or on pieces of paper somewhere about how I want the thing to look and feel. And then I start applying all of that to the script.
What happens if the script is trash, or let me not assume somebody's script is going to be bad. But what happens if the script doesn't necessarily align with all of these, like your vision?
That's the thing. It's like holding all of that really lightly too. And I guess the confidence in that is knowing I have all this information. So if I
Yeah.
need to pivot, I can pivot to something else.
Right.
If this thing I had in my head, and I don't have any vision of it yet.
Okay.
Like all of this is just information. All I know is one thing. I needed to feel like Glastonbury for kids, and I want everybody to have a good time. That's it. That's the blanket.
Is that how
rule.
you start all of your work?
No, it depends. Like when I was making Romeo and Juliet,
What Romeo and Juliet? There's lots of them.
Sorry, I directed Romeo.
It's not just you and I talking.
Because we know each other. So I directed Romeo and Juliet at the Royal Exchange last year, and my version of it was set in Manchester.
And the Royal Exchange is also in Manchester, right?
Yeah, the Royal Exchange is in Manchester. And the brief for that was, what they said to me, and this was the offhand comment. They was like, do you want to come and make Romeo and Juliet here? And I was like, yes, I'll come and do it. Roy, who was the artistic director at the time, asked me. Roy, exactly, Alexander Weiss, said, what question, because I directed it before, and I won an award for it before.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
You are like so bad at certain things, like sharing details. Hey, I won an award. Oh, shit, for real? Congratulations,
Thank
dude.
you. It was, anyway, it was a long time ago.
Doesn't matter.
So he was like, what question haven't you answered yet in it? What question would you like to ask of the script that you haven't answered yet? And I'd always felt like I hadn't gotten the community right.
What you mean by the community, right?
Well, Romeo and Juliet don't exist in a vacuum, right?
True.
And they come from two families that are fighting each other, and inside of that, they fall in love. They are products of their family and still are able to see past that and fall in love. And then at the end of the play, Mercutio is dead, Tybalt is dead, Romeo is dead, Juliet is dead, and Romeo kills Paris. So at the end of the play, all of these 5 young people that you ostensibly see throughout the whole play are dead. My question then is, how do you live with killers?
I don't know if Shakespeare was asking that question, though.
I think he had to be.
You think so?
Yeah, he had to be. He had to be. Because,
why? Because he killed off everybody?
Yes, and it's abjectly violent. And then and then what happens the next day? So what happens the day after that? How does Montague and how does Lady Capulet and how do they reject their life knowing all their kids are dead? And then the other thing is that Romeo is the last of his line. Juliet is the last of her line.
Oh shit, yeah.
And they have 2 old parents. There ain't nothing coming back from them. Those 2 families are dead.
So how did you, like, that's a big question.
Right.
But also one that would possibly, to answer, technically require an epilogue that doesn't exist.
The epilogue is
Connect
2
that
households.
into your life.
The epilogue is a glooming piece this morning with it brings the sun for sorrow shall not show his head. So that's us going, there is still a darkness coming here. That's Shakespeare going, there's still a darkness coming here that we don't have time to tell that story. But I was working backwards. So what happens the day after that is one thing. And then if you work backwards with that, Tybalt kills Mercutio, Romeo kills Tybalt. Verona is an inherently violent place. How do you live in a place like that? And what's the correlations to us today?
There's probably quite a few.
I grew up in a place where people used to get murdered quite a bit. And then everybody had to wake up in the morning and go about their lives and live knowing that you were amongst killers. Whether it's in the back of your mind or it's in front of your mind, you absolutely know that you're amongst killers. And the play starts with a fight. Shit. 2 civil brawls brought of your hand. It's been going on for a while.
You're making me think about all the killers I know.
Sorry.
Shit.
But we do. It's one of them things. All of that feeds into my big question, which is, how do you live with killers and what does this do to a community?
And how did you answer that question?
I put it in Manchester. I put it in a community that we know in Manchester. I made sure that all of the people in the show had northern voices, had Manchester voices, so they sounded like us. And then in my research for it, I went to a couple of schools around Manchester and I met these 3 girls who were from loads of different backgrounds, and they spoke for 6 languages in between them, and they were talking to me, but when they were talking to each other, they would say something in Farsi or Hindi or something, and they would answer in English. And once the person said something in Portuguese, and I was like, do you guys understand each other? And they said, we get a little bit, but we can answer and stuff like that. And so it was really important to reflect this kind of community that was everybody. And Manchester feels like that. Manchester just feels like everybody lives in Manchester. And you don't know who poor and who rich and who have money and who don't have money, and it's everybody lives there. And it feels like a really tight-knit community. Whereas London could feel a little bit disparate if you don't know it's big and you have to travel across London. It takes an hour. Manchester feels much smaller. It feels much closer. And so when I wanted those girls to come and see a show with people that felt like them. And so that the barrier to entry for Shakespeare, where it goes, I don't understand this, I don't understand what they're saying, disappears completely because the accent sounds like you. And then I edited the script within an inch of its life so that we take out all of there's lots and lots of passages in Romeo and Juliet that repeat themselves. Yeah. And it was designed like that on purpose because you're outside, it was to be at the Globe, you have to be very loud, people are walking around.
Reminding people of what's happening.
Yeah. Market sellers outside, you might buy some tomatoes and come in and you watch 15 minutes and then you go and come back.
The original. You're talking about it like the market seller out there in front of the Globe now.
Sorry. Yeah, this was.
When it was originally created, it was in this environment.
It was like the EastEnders of our day. And so that you had to repeat the story over and over and over in case somebody missed half the second act.
So you ask big questions, you do a lot of research, and then you put it on to people. As a director, and you're also a musician, and so telling stories is your thing. You're directing the story. You are giving people the essence, what you need them to do, possibly blocking any sense of where I want you to be on the stage, to create relationships. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the actor who's going to deliver this. As a director, what happens if the actor is not great? How do you navigate that? How do you... is it within your gift to pull out greatness, or are there some people that it just can't happen?
I really like actors to start off with. I really genuinely like actors. I think the thing that they're able to achieve with their voice and their body is quite phenomenal. And I like dancers for the same reason. I love dancers.
And because...
yes. And I think you're starting off from 100%. You're already it's there, right? And casting is 90% of the job there, right? So you're starting off with somebody that you like and you want to spend your time in a room with and you respect and you think that they're good at what they do. So I'm very rarely or never casting somebody unless it's some weird circumstance where we run out of people or we run out of time or you have to cast this person because of some other bizarre reason. Generally, I want to be casting people that I really respect and I love their talent. And so then it's a conversation between me and them about what the thing feels like in their body and how it looks. And if they can't necessarily do the thing I had in my head, I'm trying to find what I imagine it to be, what they're coming with, what the story is telling us, and how to marry all of those things together. There's directors who go, actors are like plasticine. You move them around the stage and like sock puppets. They say what you want them to say, and that's it. I don't work like that. I want them to bring as much of their technique and their skill to the work as possible. And so it's a conversation between us. And then it should end up in the right place. If all of us are coming to the table doing
But if y'all don't agree?
Well, there has to be a why, right? And if your argument for why you don't agree with me is more compelling than mine, then yeah, let's go with what you're doing. However, if it is not,
then I'm the director. And I'm
also more stubborn than everybody else in the room. So I will stay there with you till 11 o'clock at night talking it out. I guarantee you one or two things. Either you're going to fall asleep before I finish talking or you're going to agree with me.
Have you ever had one of those situations? In the end you were wrong?
Yeah.
And how you feel about that? What you do about that? What you do with that?
Apologize. apologize and go again. And that happens quite a bit. I will go, I think it's this, and you try a thing and it doesn't work, and you go, that's a bad idea. Let's try something else. And I'm really micro level, but in big time, big things happen, and I go, I got this totally wrong, and I will go and say, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Let's do the thing that you were talking about, because that thing I was talking about doesn't work at all.
And that creates a trust and a respect with you and yours, right?
Hopefully.
So as a director, what you do is fully informed by like your personal life and what's going on in the world and what's going on around you. Anything in particular right now that is, I don't know, massaging your work, influencing your work heavily, or just something that you're thinking about globally, social, trendy wise?
The genocide in Gaza is the thing that is in my spirit and in my soul the entire time.
I get it. Do you see it informing any work that you are about to do, or do you plan to do any work around it?
Yeah, so as a musician, that sounds like I have two different jobs. The new music that I'm working on is pretty much all informed by that.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's dark?
No, it's like it is, so it's written as, and if you listen to the thing and you get this, then more power to you. If you listen to it and you don't get that, then that's fine. I always find it weird when creatives explain their work, but where it's coming from is a desire to tell three distinct stories of three sets of people. One is as a child and what being inside something like that does to a child. And it's like I'm not mining people's pain. So I'm not writing about somebody who is in Gaza at this point. I'm not doing that. I'm writing about empathy more than anything else, and how I felt as a child watching wars on TV and watching how that felt. And then
kind of wild. We are the first generation who's actually seen wars on TV. Which is just not okay. Yeah.
And then writing about as an adult how you deal with loss in general, and what matters inside of loss. Like, what are the things that matter to me, and what are the things that matter to people? Because we have all this stuff, right? We have sneakers and cars and houses and blah 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 blah. What happens if somebody just walks across your lawn and decides that's their house? What happens if you wake up in the morning and everything that you understood about life was bombed? What's that loss, and how big is that? And then how do you carry on after that? And then the last part of it is from an ancestral perspective, something much older, looking back at life and asking, did I do the right things? Did I say the right things? Was I in the right places? Does that matter? It's like a generational thing, but it's informed by our feeling about what's happening there, and our, one, as a human being, our inability to do very much about it. Because we go on march, and I've been there, and then the next day you wake up and it's still a bunch of angry people, angry men in particular, barreling through whatever their ego is to destroy things.
And trying to create another system of oppression in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And then I'm making a show next year that is very much informed by colonial oppression.
Could you find something like a little light? Like you just in these heavy themes?
No, but I'm directing a panto, which
Lord.
is like,
fine.
Is like
a lot. All right. So at least it gets some respect.
Dancing and
that's
singing.
Deep.
And...
Like that's speaking of all of that though. That's a lot of emotional work.
Yeah.
As an ex-dancer, the thing that I always say to people is, beyond the physicality of it, you have to go out there and be on a stage and deliver to people regardless of your mood, what just happened, what hurting, what's not hurting, all of these things, right? There's a lot of emotional, and you have to be very vulnerable and open, right? as a director, you're slightly on the backside of the live part, but in the creating, and even as a musician, though, there is a performance. Doing what you do and that being your sole job and ever, have you ever felt that it's too much? Do you ever want to go and sit down and work in an office where you could just shut down at the end of the day and be like, that's that?
Never. I have never, ever wanted to not do what I'm doing. And I don't think it's too much because how do I describe this? I think that we are both things. We are joy and we are sorrow, and we are happiness and pain in equal measure. And I've figured out that the joy bit of it is not accidental. The pain bit of it might just happen to you, right? You might just wake up in the morning and circumstances that are out of your control might just... I went to my friend's funeral on Friday.
I'm sorry.
And out of the clear blue sky, this woman in her 40s dies of cancer.
Shit.
And she did everything in her power to not. And shit like that just happens to you. That's the sadness bit of it. The joy bit of it, on the other hand, is not accidental. Like, the joy bit of it is conscious, and you have to consciously create joyfulness around you, and you have to consciously surround yourself with people who bring you joy and do the things that bring you joy, and seek it out and go out of your way to laugh and to go out of your way to make sure that no matter what the world is sending for you, that you are actively counteracting it. And I think that lives in people. A lot of that lives in me and my son laughing most of the time. A lot of that lives in like watching silly comedies and playing video games, or being in a music festival, or going in the park and liming, or coming over by you and drinking and talking, and or us going and seeing a show or something like that. When we meet up and we just talk about all the people we haven't seen in a long time and all what's going on with them, that is reconnecting to things that make me happy. You know what I mean?
That's your balance. That's how you find your peace as well.
But I want to overbalance it, because...
How you can overbalance something?
It's not overbalance, sorry. Put more weight, overcompensate. Yeah, put more weight on the joy than on the sadness.
What brings you joy?
Oh my God. Whew, so many things.
Other than not small man because he's tall, he's my height.
Yeah. What brings me joy? Laughing, watching old sitcoms and films, talking shit with you and Sam and my boys, and like being around fun people. Like, I'm working on a show in the West End, and...
What show are you working on in West End, pal?
Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York.
I have to go see it. I guess I'm getting a ticket then. Great.
Yeah,
I've heard great things about it.
It's
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yes, have a sip of rum. Two strangers carrying a cake across to New York?
Two Strangers Carry a Cake Across New York.
Across New York, not to New York.
No, across New York.
Oh, I thought they were... Like, when I saw the original previews for when it was at the Kiln, I thought it was like they met in London and then they were going to New York and carrying this cake. Oh, it's across New York.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
If I say anything about it, it gives away the piece.
I just didn't clock that. And don't do that, because I'm also someone who goes to plays without reading reviews and reading anything. I just like to rock up.
Me too.
That's good. I'm gonna go see it though. Okay, so you're working on a play right now that brings you joy.
Yeah, the Aladdin is like pure, frothy magic, and like, again. So with Jack and the Beanstalk, we were like Glastonbury for kids. This one, I want people to be saying over and over, how did they do that? It has to be awe and wonder. I want them to be transported out of themselves and it to be utterly magical, like proper magic. So now I'm studying magic. That's what I'm doing.
How do you create magic on stage?
Very, very hard. It's hard to do. You have to study it. Like, industrial light and magic is not a fake thing. It's like it takes a long time to do one little trick. And then it's like, how do we scale that up and make it a big trick? How do we make people disappear? How do we make people reappear?
And you have like physical sets that are in the way, costumes that could be difficult for moving things and hide, or not able to hide things.
Exactly.
So that means you're going to have to bring in your costume people, your lighting people, your set people.
Everybody.
So all of y'all going to go take a magic course?
Yeah.
Because Panto is like December, right? So you have time.
Yeah, but and it takes a year to make one of those shows, right? Yeah. I'm working on this since December last year.
Gosh, that's commitment.
So we always sort of a year ahead of what we're doing, and it takes a long time to get the script right and to get and the other crazy thing is that we cast in July, which is the hottest part of the year.
Oh gosh, drink some rum.
And you're asking people to come in and be talking about Christmas and Panto when it is boiling outside.
But that is the actor's job, to be able to put themselves and transport themselves into any space, place, or time.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
You are so absolutely passionate about what you do, and you're good at what you do. It wouldn't be, frankly, I wouldn't have you on my podcast if you wasn't good. But also, I feel like it's true though.
I feel it.
Okay, I have no rubbish people out here.
I feel you. Yeah.
But also, you are clearly good because you keep working. That's a sign of the quality that you deliver. With all of that, like, what makes you good? What do you think makes you good?
I am a fan of the thing that I do. I genuinely...
Yeah, you are.
Like, I genuinely think that I don't have answers. I'm always asking questions, and I'm a fan of it. Like I genuinely get excited about being in a room with people making shows, or writing a script, or dissecting a script. I've been doing this a long time, and it hasn't gotten old yet.
What happens when you get old?
Hopefully I still treat it like this is the first thing I've ever seen. It's like, hopefully I still am in a place where I'm going, oh, this is cool. That's the old ball game. Is the thing cool? Does it work? Excuse me. Does it excite me? Does it make me want to come to work and want to work out how we pull... I was gonna say how we pull a rabbit out of the hat. In Aladdin, we're gonna pull a whole room out of a box.
A whole room?
Yeah. It's so sick.
Yes, I'm giving you side eye.
It's sick. It's so sick.
Okay.
It's so sick. We're gonna pull a whole
Yo, if
room.
it does not work, I will tell you. Okay. All right, cool. No, in fairness, that is kind of cool.
That's the thing, right? I read the script and it says...
Wait, whose box? What box? What room?
I don't want to give away all that.
Okay.
It's the genie.
No.
It's the genie. Not out of a box. It's out of the lamp.
Okay. So like the genie's house.
Yes, the genie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's not giving away because we all know he comes out of a lamp.
Yeah, but I read the script and all it says is Aladdin rubs the lamp and we arrive in the genie's. That's all it says in the script. So now I went, like, how do we do this? And I went searching for all kinds of things about, and then Sonny, the writer, was like, is it? And then so we sharing videos back and forth between us. And then I see this thing, which is the opposite of what I want to do, which is it's a massive cyc, and it's a waterfall.
You have to explain what a cyc is for the people.
The cycorama, which is like a massive cloth at the back of a stage that you can project things onto. So it's this huge white cloth that ocean is projected onto. And the actor on stage opens his show and reads the once upon a time, blah, 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 blah. And now we start our story and closes the book. And as he closes the book, the entire fucking waterfall just disappears into the book. Exactly. And I was like, that's exactly what we want to do.
Yes.
That is what we want to do. So we want to do that idea in reverse, but have the whole room appear out. Exactly. So that's why I get excited by these things, right? And the thing next year that I want to that I'm directing that is darker. The thing that's exciting me about it is there's this moment in the show that I want the audience to come in, sit in the auditorium, and then when the show starts, people just rise out of the floor, and they've been there the entire time.
The floor of the auditorium?
The floor of the auditorium.
But are you looking to get people having heart attacks? You're looking to get people getting their face mashed? Yeah. If I was sitting in a seat and somebody rises from the floor, I was stamping on their face hard with the quickness. So just have ambulance and medics on call.
It look fucking cool though.
It would look cool. It would be memorable.
Exactly.
Like,
you're not gonna forget that shit.
Yeah.
I've been sat here for 15 minutes talking of all this kind of shit, and then all of a sudden the show starts and somebody just goes and starts talking. Come on.
I just had a thought while people sitting there. What if they're like farting and thing? What are your actors gonna do? Oh man, that puts them in a precarious position.
Very much.
Or you could just make them slap them and be like, your ass is nasty.
I love that you went to people farting.
Just be like, poof, that is disgusting.
Oh shit. Oh god.
Have you ever been disappointed in
Yeah. I directed a play once, and I sat in the auditorium on the first night of it, and the play starts, and the first scene happens, and I go, oh shit, I didn't understand this play at all.
Oh god. Oh no! What do you do with that?
You die. Yeah, you die inside. I died, and I was just like, okay, cool. And I had to style it out for the rest of the night.
Oh.
Style it out, but I didn't understand the play. I'm watching everything that we did, like
Even with all that preparedness that you do.
That's why I learned to
over prepare.
Yeah.
Always learn your things.
Yeah.
I have to be sensible about time because we will, as we do, talk forever, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So I have two last questions for you, right?
Yeah, go for
One is, if someone wanted to be a storyteller and they came to you and they said, Nicholai, you inspire me, I would like to flatter you and mimic you, what do you say?
Oh god. One, don't do that. My first question is, what excites you? What lights you up? When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you want to do when you wake up in the morning? For my entire life, from when I was 16 years old up until now, when I wake up in the morning, the thing I want to do is tell a story. Always. It's always been like that. I want to understand, and you know, extrapolating that is not just tell a story, but it's really genuinely understand what the human condition is. How do we work? How do we work? What are the things that we need to make us happy, to make us feel safe, to make us feel good, to make us feel connected? And thus, if we feel all of those things, how then can we change the lives of others? How then can we be of service to somebody else? How can we be useful? If we have the things that we need, how do we pass that on to somebody else? And the way that I'm doing that, the thing that I have decided to do with my life is to do that through being a director or a musician or whatever it is. But I always feel like it is my responsibility to leave the world a little bit nicer than I found it, a little bit better for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So my question to them will always be, what's your why? What is this thing that you want to do? What wakes you up in the morning? And then what fulfills you and gives you joy? And then through that, how can you be of service to somebody else?
Nice. Okay, I lied. It wasn't one more question, actually.
Right, keep going.
With all of that and being of service to people, you work in an industry that is nebulous, to say the least. If you could change anything about your industry, what would you change?
I'd pay people fairly.
It's crazy that you say that, because I feel like that's a real easy one, in the sense that there is lots of money out there.
Yeah.
And mostly people who are not making the art, but owning the art in the sense of producing or paying for the art, they have the money.
Yeah.
Why do you think people in the arts aren't paid properly?
Greed.
So we ought to just chop down all them greedy people and a whole new raft of producers who have a different understanding? Or is it like putting laws or unions, or what does that look like in a practical, tangible way, you think?
I think it's a couple of different things. I think the unions have to get stronger, and they have to have more teeth.
Yeah.
In being able to, and that's the thing. It's an interesting place because of COVID. A lot of people left the industry, right? And so it feels like there's not enough people to do it, and there's even less skilled people to do the thing that you're doing. And you would imagine that would create demand and push the prices up. But what's happened is that senior creatives have make money or more money than they have been before. And then there's a massive gap between them and junior creators, people who are now coming into the industry, people who work in backstage, stage managers.
Because also the industry is not just people who are on a stage.
No, of course not. The thing on stage is underpinned by so small in comparison to the hundreds of people that are working backstage to make the thing happen. The designers, the costume designers, the set designers, the stage managers, the lighting crew.
Twice as many people backstage.
Even more sometimes. I to work on the Tina Turner musical, and we had 155 people working in that building.
Like, it was the same.
Yeah.
Around the same number. And only a third of
And
that
only
was
a
on
third
stage.
of that was on stage. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were similar sizes.
And that's what it takes to run a big show. Of that 155 people, I don't know the stats, I might be guessing here, but I pretty much guarantee 75% of them are not paid a wage that is appropriate for
what
they give and for what they do and the time what they do. And it's this like little ephemeral gap where you go, we're making art and it feels like there is a little bit of an X factor in there that means that it's unquantifiable, so we can pay you whatever we want, because we don't really, like, your job is all of these different things, but it's not one thing, and it's not like you're making a spoke that goes into a thing, and we could know exactly how much that spoke costs and how long it's going to take to make it. So the breakdown of what the job is, as you say, nebulous. So you don't quite know. So it allows greedy producers to be able to take advantage of that situation. And now I'm not saying that all producers are greedy. There's some people who I love, who I've worked with for a long time, who I think are wonderful human beings and who are genuinely ethical in the way that they make work. There are others, however, who go, I'm going to pay the minimum amount of money that this costs, even if it means that it is dangerous for people.
Yeah.
Even if I see problems coming down the track, I'm just gonna leave it, and when it raises its head, that's when I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Rather than going,
invest,
look, make
safe
it,
and healthy.
make it safe, make it healthy, do all these different kinds of things. So it's greed. It's about them trying to make as much profit as they can in the shortest amount of time possible, and then move on to the next thing at the detriment of those hundreds of people that are
blood, sweat, and tears
into the thing, and coming to work every day and wanting to make something and having pride in their work and wanting to do a good job and wanting to make, but they're not being paid. Like, the loads of technicians, loads of builders disappeared from the industry because they went, my skill is carpentry.
Yep.
Or my skill is electronics. I can go and make way more money
with a better union, with like way less hours, also not dealing with the multitude of personalities that are very strong and powerful in
I rock
theater.
up at 10 a.m. I'd be an artisan carpenter for 6 hours and then I go home.
Yep.
Rather than, I want this over here, I don't want that there, that doesn't make, and you have to rebuild that whole thing, and the hours are inconvenient and all of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think you should convince somebody to just give you a whole bunch of money and you could start a production company and start the trend of paying people fairly.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Because you are who you are, as I think everyone now knows, we spend a lot of time together. You are very near and dear to me. You were one of the first people that I talked to about this podcast.
Yeah.
So we talked about like the format and all the stuff. Yeah. And obviously, like, I kept some, I didn't keep some. And I also have all my notes, but didn't really pay attention to my notes. But the one thing we're going to maintain is what I did not tell you, I started calling it Lipton Tea Time.
What is Lipton Tea Time?
The James Lipton questions.
Oh, right, Lipton Tea Time.
But I didn't tell you I was calling it Lipton Tea Time.
That's very good.
And maybe one day when this podcast gets big enough, we will have a production assistant on set preparing Lipton tea for Lipton Tea Time.
That's very good. No, I like the alcohol, though.
No, we're keeping the alcohol. We drank slowly.
Cut to Lipton
By
time.
now, we might have had two. Yeah. And then we cut to Lipton Tea Time for...
Just so everybody know, this is not how we drink on Limon. It goes way faster than this.
We're being respectful. But that means we need
the last time I think I was by, we drank a bottle of wine in an hour.
Yeah. So Lipton Tea Time. So I don't need to do the explanation as I've had to. I know that I'm going to get told about putting the mic in front of my face, so I'm moving it now.
Sorry.
My bad. I don't need to explain to you about the show that it comes from. You obviously are a fan of Mr. James Lipton, so let's just roll right in. So, what's your favorite word?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your least favorite word?
No.
Why are you so?
I'll tell you why yes.
Well, I was gonna ask because now obviously I can't just leave it. So yes. Why yes and why no?
Because yes is all possibility.
Yes.
Yes, that just creates possibility. Let me try and see what we could do. Yes, that can happen. Yes, no is the opposite of that. No means there's no possibility. It means it can't happen. And also, my personality is as such. If you tell me no, it is like a red rag to a bull. I'm going to make it happen. The worst thing you could tell me is that I can't do something.
So then why is it your least favorite word? Because it's motivating.
Because of that, it stops possibility. And this is a different, in a creative scenario, because I also recognize other people's rights
to boundaries.
To boundaries. And to go, I don't want to do that. No means no. If we were talking about...
Oh gosh, yes, I didn't even think about it in that way. But yes, exactly.
I have run out of girls' houses because they said no.
Good.
Run out.
Good.
I'm just like, cool,
bye.
Ladies, bye.
I will dress on the way out.
Yeah, bye.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm not playing that. I'm not playing
Good.
that.
I'm
No
glad.
means no.
I know that's who you are,
Yeah.
so clearly I'm not surprised. What turns you on? I feel like I'm going to get grossed out. What turns you on?
No, this is about art.
Okay.
Ideas and smart people turn me on. Big ideas.
Yes, also not surprised. What turns you off?
Small people.
As in physically small?
No. People who are
I know I'm being facetious.
no, people who are petty. People who are petty.
But you don't find that sometimes a bit of pettiness is good? Like sometimes people deserve petty. I mean, I'm not trying to make you change your mind or anything.
I'm considering what you're saying here. No, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel that not agreeing with somebody is fine. Choosing to do something else is fine. Deciding a thing is not for you, arguing your point, all absolutely fine and very important. I think if you have an opportunity, or if you, this is what it is. If you believe in yourself, something different. So if we have an argument and you change your point of view, and then you stick to the point of view that you had previously, that's a problem. Because then you have stuck yourself to the sticking place and you are unable to move.
I shouldn't laugh, but...
And then you don't grow,
yeah,
you don't change, and the argument has nowhere to go. If you believe what you believe and you want to argue that point for the rest of your life and argue it down, and you can, like, absolutely fine. You do you. If, however, and this is where I think pettiness comes from, I might be wrong, I might be wrong, that people arrive at a point where they go, the opposite of what I think is true, or I have changed my mind, but because of my ego, because I will lose face, because I want to win the argument, because I just don't want that other person to get the upper hand, because I can't bring myself to apologize or say sorry, I'm going to stay where I am and not move.
Gotcha. What about a sound or noise that you love?
My son laughing.
Yeah, that's a good noise.
Yes. When they get him good and he does that kind of laugh. My son laughing, yeah.
What about a sound or noise that you don't love or you hate?
There's a wail that comes from somebody when they lose a person.
Oh yeah.
That sound is,
and
it's impossible to get out of you when you hear it.
Yes, you can't ever forget that.
Ever.
Why I gave a little hands is because I thought you were actually going to talk about an actual whale, like the mammal, and I was like, of course this fucker is going to come and tell me something about some special whale that no one else on the planet has heard because he found it down some rabbit hole. That's why I got that's
people crying is what
yeah. Yeah, that's a difficult one. What's your favorite curse word?
Mother cunt.
Oh,
can I
yeah?
say that? Yeah,
it's my
cunt.
podcast.
Holly and mother cunt. That's my favorite curse word.
Yes, mine too. It's such a good one. Is that unique to Trinidad, you think?
Yeah, the way that it's put together, I think, is unique to Trinidad. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's perfection. And other than your current profession, and you have a couple, so other than the couple that you do, what profession would you like to do or would you want to do?
I think I'd want to have a go at like something to do with the ocean, like a marine biologist or something like that. Something to do with the beach.
You said that was like your childhood thing, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
very
yeah.
surprised to
Yeah.
hear marine biologist.
Yeah. Something like, maybe not marine biology, but like some kind of research to do with
But I mean, you grew up on an island.
oceanography.
I'm not
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah.
And you love the ocean.
Yeah, it'll make me be by the beach a lot and in
Yeah.
the water a lot. That would be, I'd be a happy camper if I did something like that.
And what about one that you don't want to do?
Any kind of politics. I wouldn't want to do it because it is the worst popularity contest on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I do as a musician or as a sorry, is it wrong? Is it wrong? Is it wrong? The thing that I do as an artist, as a musician or a director, is that you're trying to get people to like the thing that you
Yeah.
do, right? So it's a popularity contest to start off with. The popularity contest with a politician is that you have to fold yourself constantly into different aspects of what you think the people in front of you are going to like moment to moment, day by day. And if for some bizarre reason you're one of the few ones with a real genuine moral compass, the possibility of you making it to be really successful as a politician is so incredibly small
Yeah.
that it feels like genuinely a thankless job.
It's a setup. I fully think that being a politician is a setup.
I feel it completely.
So if heaven exists, and you might be the one person who knows. No, I said this to someone else who I thought would know, and they're very religious and know their Bible, and they didn't know, but I have a funny feeling you're going to know because that's the kind of shit you like to do. When you're at the pearly gates, and who's supposed to meet you?
St. Peter.
See? Yeah, you would know. And St. Peter meets you at the pearly gates. What do you hope he would say?
Go back.
Go back?
Yeah.
Why you want to go back? Why you want him to tell you to go back?
I think our human condition, the fact that we get to feel, is the most profound thing in existence. I think it's St. Peter.
I was so confident you would
I
know.
was not. If you believe in the angels and heaven and hell and all of these different kinds of things, or even nirvana, or in the Hindu context or whatever it is, it's that there is abundance. There's one or two things: it's either pure abundance and joy and wonderfulness all the time, right? So you're living in a kind of Grecian perfect feeling orgy constantly.
Yes.
And if it's hell, you're being poked by a devil for eternity,
Yeah.
right? Either one of those two things are two extremes of a thing. The thing that we get to experience here on this plane is both things. We get to be sad and we get to cry and we get to feel pain and we get to love people and we get to be happy and smile with them and laugh with them and go through the whole gamut of our life. And I think along that journey, we learn so much about what the condition of humanity is, the mechanics of being us. And we fail and we succeed and we laugh and we cry and all of those different things. But it's not one thing. We get to experience all of it on a long enough timeline of our life. And I want to be in the experiencing of it. Which is why I think I make all of these different kinds of shows. Is that I don't make only
one type of art.
I don't care. Like I want to make all different kinds of things. I want to make comedies and tragedies and avant-garde shit that don't make no sense and stuff that is so specific that it's a microcosm of this one particular idea that nobody else might understand, and all of these different kinds of things. Like I want to do all of those things. Ultimately, I want to feel shit.
Couldn't your heaven just be your vision of heaven, and that might be that you feel all this shit and you do all that, but you don't have to pay no bills. The weather's always what you want it to be.
Yeah, but all right. I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, could heaven not be your vision? That's what if I had to believe in it, that's what I imagine. Like, it's your vision of heaven and your vision of hell.
But how do you understand warmth if you don't get cold?
I totally agree, but my thing is, if your vision of heaven is that you are feeling all of the emotions like we do now as we are
Yeah.
on this plane, then that is what you will receive.
So you have a specific kind of heaven.
Yeah, your own heaven.
All right, check this out.
So, because my heaven will, I think I would like the emotions, but I would want a continuous supply of shoes.
Fair enough. There's a Twilight Zone episode.
I don't watch the Twilight Zone. I will not sleep well.
Listen, there's a Twilight Zone episode. So it starts off with this guy walking into a room. He walks into the room and he finds this record player with every perfect record, all the records he wanted. And he goes, oh my God, this is perfect. He puts them on, he listens to all the records. He turns around and there's a TV with his favorite show on it. He's in the room and his grandmother's there and he loved his grandmother and they have this wonderful conversation. He goes to the table and there's all this food to eat that is his perfect set of food to eat. And then he turns around and the record player's there again. And so he listens to all the same records.
So he's in a loop.
Not in a loop. He is damned by his perfect world.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, what if he's not damned though? What if he doesn't feel damned because that is what he wants to do every single day? Your perfect world is not that.
But yeah,
your world will be whatever your perfect is, and it doesn't mean that it has to be on the same loop or that it has to change. And maybe your perfect is that, you know what, it's living life again, but with certain frustrations.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Removed,
yeah.
like bills, or assholes who insist on killing people for no damn reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I see it. But does your go back? All right then. But what do you think your son will do if you just pop back?
Oh, I don't think I'd come back as in this.
Oh my God, he will put you right back though.
Well, yeah,
that's true. You will come back as a different form. All right,
yeah.
Nico.
No, but I see a point. Yeah, sorry, you're trying to wrap up. Sorry.
Yes, I'm trying to wrap up because it's not just us sitting here doing nothing. But it was good. I'm so glad we did this.
Cheers, I'm very glad we did this.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, thank you for joining us as well. And hope to see you or hear you or whatever you do with podcasts on the next time. Thank you. Take care. Thank you, Andres.
Thank you, mate.
That's all, folks, for today's episode of I Do What I Do. Biggest thank you to you for listening and to my guests for sharing their journey. I am Zara Bartels, and a super duper special shout out to the incredible folks that supported me on this creation. Keegan Simon, individual, for my logo and social graphics. Nicholai La Barrie for my theme music, and Andres Albert for being there and doing all the things while we recorded at TYX Studios in King's Cross, London. Walk good, keep doing what you do. Until next time.